Hello. 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 Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ganesh. So we can start our session after a few minutes. So please wait some time. Okay. Thank you. తీసుకో తీసుకోరా Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ganesh. So now we can start our session today. Okay, up to now only very less number of people only in our group. So I'm not able to wait for some more time. Okay, so we can continue now. I hope my voice is audible to everyone. At the same time, I'm sharing already my screen now. So may I continue my session now? Can anyone please respond through chat box? Please respond anyone through chat box. May I continue my session? Is it my voice is audible to everyone? Is it the screen is okay? Now I start my session. In the last sessions, we are already discussing about in the last sessions we are already discussing about what is a data model and what is a data abstraction and what is a database structure. So I think the name is implies in the case of data model here we are giving some shape to the data. Types of data models to giving the description about the data. So the main purpose of giving the data model is nothing but to describing the data. Okay, so whenever we are giving the data to the end user with the based upon to the data models, then we are easily giving the data. So nothing but end users can easily understood the data. So that means the main purpose of using the main purpose of using the data model is nothing but describing the data. Okay, so describing the data. Okay, discussing about different types of data models. So they are nothing but relational data model. Another one is the ER data model, a hierarchical data model, network data model. Am I right? So we are discussing about different types of data models. Another one, how we are viewing the data in the database. So there is nothing but here we are using three types of schemas. So those are nothing but physical level, logical level, external level. So in the case of physical level, mainly focus on how we are storing the data into the database. So nothing but how to we are storing the data into the database and how many number of indices are used to retrieve the database. So like this. So that means here main thing is so how we are storing the data into the database. So that type of the thing is not necessary to the end users. Why? Because they are only accessing the data, but that they don't know, doesn't know about where we are storing the data. Okay. So in the case of logical level of the abstraction, so here we are mainly focused on in the case of logical level data abstraction or conceptual schema or conceptual level data abstraction. Here we are mainly focus on what type of data is we are stored into the database and which type of relationship is with the existing with the data. So that thing will be maintained into the logical level abstraction. Okay, and another one is view level abstraction. So here we are providing different types of views. Okay, so that means the same database will be providing which is required to the data for the user. Only that type of data is presented to the end user. So that is nothing but view level abstraction or maybe the external level abstraction. So we are clearly understood in the diagram. So if you observe here, so physical level so maintains the details about where we are, how we are storing the data in the database, and conceptual level. So what type of data is we are stored into the database. And in the case of external level, here we are providing different types of views. So maybe maybe the view of the data. Maybe some of the users asking some attributes and some of the users asking some other attributes. So whatever it may be the requirement of the user, only that type of thing will be provided from the database. That is nothing but view level abstraction. We are already discussing about this. Okay, and another thing is the logical data independence also. Why I am repeating the previous topics? Actually, today we are closing the first unit. Now we are discussing the last topic of this unit today. So that is nothing but client server architecture. Okay, so that's why I'm repeating. Just I'm giving one word description about the previous topics. Okay. Uh, so what is the data independence? I think the here the name is implies. So when we are performing some modifications on the existing data, that is not giving any type of the problems to the its higher level abstractions. That is nothing but data independence. So here we are maintaining the logical level data independence, and the another one is the physical level data independence. Okay, so in the case of physical data independence, here we are performing the modifications done at the physical level of the schema. So those type of updations are not affecting to the conceptual schema. So that means it's higher level. So that means if we are performing any type of the modifications in the lower level, so those type of modifications are not affecting to its higher level. So that type of the thing will be referred as here physical data independence. Okay, and another one is the logical level data independence. The name is implies here. We are done at the modifications at the logical level, but those type of modifications not affecting to its higher level. So that means view level abstraction. Okay, so we are all discussing about this. Okay, I think I'm already sharing this PPT in group. So better, if possible for you, please read once this PPT. And in the last class, we are discussing about the PPT database structure also. So in the case of database structure, we can, in the exam point of view, maybe asking database structure, database architecture, okay, how we are viewing the data like this. So maybe, for example, if the in the exam point of view, maybe asking the question is like this: explain database architecture. Then you can draw this. Okay. So for example, if the question is asking like this, so how we are viewing the data in the database? Explain with the diagram. Then we can explain the data abstraction also. At the same time, so and we are having another topic that is nothing but the three level schema. Okay, three level schema are nothing but three levels schema with structure. So then also we are explaining the database abstraction. Okay, please remember this. So in the last class we are discussing about the database structure. Okay, in the case of database structure, here we can view like as a three levels. So the first level is mainly concerns with the users, and the second level is query evaluation engine and storage manager, and the third level is database. Okay, so if you observe here the first level, so that means different types of users interacting with the database applications. So maybe sophisticated users or non-sophisticated users or application programmers or database designers, developers, database administrator. So different types of users interacting with the database application. So in this above diagram, in the diagram, so here we are observe first thing is the web forms, and another one is the application front end, and another one is the SQL interface. So in that block mentioned above, so sophisticated users, application programmers, database administrators. So that means, so some of the users using the queries directly. So that type of the users will be referred as sophisticated users. So which type of users not having the programming knowledge, those can be referred as naive users or unsophisticated users. Okay, and another thing is that some of the users developing the applications, and that means they are merging the or embedded the database functionality into the some other language. Those type of users we can refer to as application developers or maybe the application programmers. Okay, so another one is the database administrator. So who is the responsible for to maintaining the data in for the particular organization? That person completely referred as a database administrator. So whatever it may be the functionality of the user, so finally he can be generating the SQL. So that means structured query language. So that means he can generate any one of the command. So maybe the purpose is either inserting the data into the table or creating the data for the table, or maybe updation in the table, or maybe modification in the table, or deletion in the table, whatever it may be. So it is a one of the SQL command. Okay, so that type of SQL commands are verified and executed in the query evaluation engine, and finally the results will be stored into the database. Okay, so now, so whenever the particular situation is needed, then we can retrieve the data from the database with the help of storage manager. So that means transaction manager, lock manager, so and buffer manager, disk space manager, recovery manager. All these managers are responsible for to retrieving the data from the databases. And files and access methods means nothing but when we are storing the data into the database, that will be in the form of files. So what is a file here? Collection of records. Okay, so these records can be easily retrieving through using indices. Okay, so by with the help of indices only we are easily retrieving the data from the database. In some type of situations we can organizing the files into different types of formats. So those are nothing but different types of access methods in the files, and different types of ways to organizing the files also. Okay, so this topic is already discussed in the last class. So now we try to discuss about the next topic in the unit. So that is nothing but DBMS three-tier architecture. Okay. So in the exam point of view, also this is also the one of the important question, and I try to remember another thing. So if you prepare, if you having the grip on the concept of this subject, you can answer for any question. But you try to remember another thing also. In the exam point of view, not asking the questions directly. So most of the chance asking the questions in the direct way. So better you try to understand before answering the question. Okay. So for example, maybe I'm already mentioning that when we are discussing about the differences between file system and DBMS. So in that question, so we can easily answer what are the advantages of DBMS, what are the drawbacks of file systems, and what are the differences between file system and DBMS also. So that type of the question will be covered the three questions. Okay, and in the last class we are discussing about the database structure. So that can be also when you prepare that diagram clearly, so you can able to answer what is the purpose of transaction manager, recovery manager, buffer manager, disk space manager, or completely storage manager. So or maybe what is the purpose of query evaluation engine, what are the different types of users, how we are storing the data into the database, so like this. So that means if we having the grip on the database structure, you can answer all these questions. Am I right or not? So in the same way, we're already discussing about data models. Yeah, data model, at the same time relational data model. Okay. And another thing, database abstractions also. Okay. Now we are discussing about the three-tier architecture. I think the name is simplest. Here we are maintains the three tiers. For example, if it is a two tiers, that means we are maintaining two levels. Okay. If it is a one tier, so that means we are maintaining only one level. So what is the meaning of level here? So that means we are already discussing these type of topics in the software engineering. So that means when we are developing one software to the end user, so that end user easily interacting with the developer software. Am I right or not? So how that user can easily move with the developer software with the help of graphical user interfaces. So that means we are providing user friendly environment. So that's why he is easily moving with the developer software. So that means here we try to maintain one level. So that level is communicating with the end users. So when he is giving some input or maybe some test to the software, then the test will be converted and processed into the some other level. Okay, next the results will be again sent back to the some other level. So that means here we are using two levels. So in the same way, so how many number of levels are maintained from user to the database? So that can be referred as a number of tiers. For example, if we are maintain three tier means nothing but initially user log into the system, next using the application, next application will be connected to the database functionality. So nothing but totally three levels. Okay, in the exam point of view, maybe asking entire architecture also. So at the time of the situation, maybe we are based upon n number of levels. We don't know how many number of levels that are there. So we can use any number of levels. Okay. For example, first of all, we try to see, so three-tier architecture. DBMS three-tier architecture divides the complete system into three interrelated but independent modules shown below. So if you observe here, so this is also same like as a data abstraction. Okay. So physical level, conceptual level, external level. So that means here also we are maintaining the three levels of the data. So in the case of physical level, here we are mainly concerns with how we are storing the data. In the conceptual level, mainly concerns with what type of data is stored into the database and what type of relationship with the existing data. So in the case of external level, so which type of data is only required to the end user. So what type of data is required to the end user, only that type of data is presented from the database. So here also we are maintaining the three levels of three types. Am I right or not? So for example, maybe in the exam point of view, maybe asking the question is like this: explain three-tier architecture. If you don't know, answer on that time. For example, maybe if you are not remember, so what we are right on that particular time, so you can answer this question with these concepts. So DBMS is actually very easy subject. So and one topic is related with another topic also. So that means better you don't try to leave that question, you can answer that question with the some other topic. Okay, here we are mentioning the same three levels of abstraction. Okay, so now we try to see the actual diagram. So that is first two-tier architecture and three-tier architecture. Sorry, is it my voice is audible to everyone? My continue my session. Please respond through anyone chat box. Actually, here I'm having one problem, so that's why I'm. Yeah, thank you. So now I try to continue my session. Okay. Please just wait 1 minute. Okay. So in the case of DBMS architecture, here we can view like as a three types of architectures here. So one is the one-tier architecture, and another one is the two-tier architecture, and another is a three-tier architecture. Here tier means query to the into the system. So that is mainly maintaining only one level. So the thing will be referred as one tier. For example, if you are writing query into the some other language, for example, maybe if you are compiling or run the Java program, then run the functionality of the database. So there is nothing but a two level. For example, if you are using three levels, so that means initially we are accessing the front end. Okay, so that will be connected to the some other connectivity. Okay, next that will be connected to the database functionality. So that is nothing but maintaining the totally three levels. Okay, now we will try to see one by one what is a one tier and two tier, three tier. So okay, in the case of one tier architecture, in this architecture the database is directly available to the user. It means the user can directly sit. So that means this type of level can be maintained by us. So that means when the particular requirement is needed, then we can write the query for to that to solve the problem. I'm right or not? So and another thing is any changes done here will directly done on the database itself. It doesn't provide a handy tool for end users. So that means here we are providing not providing any tool, simply directly accessing the database for solving the problem. So that means maintaining only one level. So that's why it can be referred as a one-tier architecture. Okay, the one-tier architecture is used for development of the local application where the programmers can directly communicate with the database for the quick response. So that means the one-tier architecture is used for development of the local applications where programs can directly communicate with the database for quick response. Okay, so that is nothing but this is the one of the easiest level. And another one is the two-tier architecture. So that means here we are maintaining two levels. So the two-tier architecture is same as basic client-server architecture. So actually client-server architecture is a next topic of this unit. So in the case of client-server architecture also, we can consider the example for the two-tier architecture. So just I'm saying about that. In the database management system, every topic is related with the some other topic. Even though you are not able to answer one question in the exam point of view, so you can write some other related topic. So that will be also considered as a answer. For example, maybe how we are viewing the data in the database. So then you can write about the data abstraction. There is no wrong. In the same way, for example, maybe three levels of schema database structure. At the time of the situation also, we can write the data levels of a data abstraction. So that is also a no wrong. So in the same way, for example, maybe in the exam point of view, asking about the two-tier architecture. If you explain about the client-server architecture, that is also the right answer. Okay, so better you try to understand the concept. Then we can easily answer for any type of the question. Okay, so the two-tier architecture is same as basic client-server architecture. So that means here we are one client is there and some server is there. So whenever some particular request of the client that can be passing to through the message to the server, then server will be giving the message same like as a Google. So if you don't know anything, so then we are simply typed on the Google. Am I right or not? So that means at that situation, so that particular person will be treated as a client. Then the Google will be retrieve our required answers. So then it will be treated as a server. Okay, the two-tier architecture is same like as a basic client server. In the two-tier architecture, applications on the client end can directly communicate with the database at the server side. So that means here client can directly communicating with the server through using some interface. So maintains two levels. For this interact, for example, maybe application interfaces like ODBC, JDBC, sorry, ODBC, JDBC are used. So that means Oracle database connectivity, Java database connectivity. Previously, I'm mentioning about that. For example, when we run the database functionality from other language, so then our query will be embedded into the particular language. For example, maybe we can write the select star from table name query. So that can be embedded into the some other language, like maybe the C or CPP or Java. Okay. At that time of the situation, we are based upon the some connectivity also. Okay. So that at the time of the situation, we are based upon two levels. So that can be referred as a two-tier architecture. So the user interfaces and application programs are run at the client side. Okay, the server side is responsible to provide the functionalities like query processing and transaction management. So that means whenever the client is requesting some data, so the type of request will be reached to the server. Now the server will be responsible for to executing whatever it may be the receiving the request of the user. So that means here performing the query processing at the same time transaction management is the responsible for server. To communicate with the DBMS, client-side application establish a connection with the server side. So that means here we are maintaining some connection to connecting the server. So the two-tier architecture is like this. So that means initially user using some application, that application is used for to sending the request to the server. So whenever it is received to the server, then it will be processed and send back the results to the end user. So that means here we are maintaining two levels. So that's why this will be referred as a two-tier architecture. For example, if it is a three-tier architecture, so we can maintain any number of levels between the user and the nothing but end user and the system database. So how many number of levels are maintained, that can be referred as a tier architecture. Okay, so next one is the three-tier architecture. The three-tier architecture contains another layer between the client and server. So that means in the case of two-tier architecture, just only we are considered client and server. Now we are maintaining another layer between the client and server. So that means initially client can be passing some request to the this middle layer. Now this middle layer will be transferred to the server. Again, the whatever it may be, the result is sending from the server that can be verified by the middle layer, and that can be translated to the transferred to the end user. So nothing but here we are providing some other layer between the client and server. So in this type of, if we maintain how many number of layers between the client and server, so that can be referred as a that type of architecture. So maybe for example entire architecture. So in this architecture, client can't directly communicate with the server. So that means in the previous case, client directly connected to the server to solving the particular problem of the client. But here we are client is not able to connecting the server directly. The application on the client and interacts, sorry, client and interacts with an application server, which further communicates with the database system. End user has no idea about the existence of the database beyond the application server. For example, so nowadays we are observing so many applications of the database in our real time situations, but those type of users not having the programming knowledge. For example, if we are consider the banking application, those type of banking employees have not having any type of the programming knowledge like C or CPP or Java. Am I right or not? But they can easily interacting with the developed software. Okay, that is the main nothing but can be referred as a one of the example for three-tier architecture. So the database also has no idea about any other use beyond the application. So that means the database also has no idea about any other user beyond the application. The three-tier architecture is used in case of large web application. So that means in some type of situations, we are based upon the three-tier architecture when we are considered the large application. So for example, this is the example for so because same thing number of you take the 3 hours to complete your exam, but your valuation needs only 3 minutes. So in that 3 minutes only we are having the possibility to impress that particular validator. So how we can impress that person through using some diagrams. Okay. So that is so better you try to represent every topic with some diagram. So for example, if it is a data abstraction, we can draw one diagram. If it is a database structure, you write the diagram. Okay, like this. So three-tier architecture here. User connect with the some application. So that application connect with the some other application in the server. Then that application will be connects to the server. So that means database functionality. So that means here client not directly communicating with the server. Okay, so this is also the another diagram. So we can represent in any type of way. So just I'm consider some other diagram here. So user or client connected to the some GUI. So nothing but graphical user interface. So that is nothing but a presentation layer. So that will be connected to the some other layer that will be referred as application layer here. So that can be connected to the DBMS. So that means server. Okay. So next one is the client centralized and client server architecture for DBMS. This is the last topic of our first unit. Okay. Centralized means nothing but here we are maintaining the centralized stories for the each and every client. So that means each and every client can communicating from particular location only. So that is nothing but centralized architecture. Okay. To access from everywhere. So if you are able to access from everywhere, so that is nothing but client server architecture or distributed architecture also. For example, maybe Google. So we can consider the example with the Google. So we can access from anywhere. So we can access from Eluru or Vijayawada or Vizag, Kakinada. Am I right or not? But if you are developing some software in particular organization, so maybe that particular software is only fixed for for that particular organization only. So that means that is nothing but centralized. Okay, so in the exam point of view, asking in different types of ways. So how we are accessing the data from the centralized database and distributed database. So the name is implies here distributed database means we can access from anywhere. So if it is a centralized means, so that in at the only center level. Okay, so this is the diagram for centralized database. If you observe here, centralized database at the center and number of clients accessing at the same location. Okay, so there is nothing but centralized database. So now we try to see. So architectures for the DBMS have followed trends similar to those general computer system architectures. So nothing but here we are architectures for DBMS have followed trends, similar trends for general computer system architectures. Earlier architectures used mainframe computers to provide the main processing for all the system functions, including user application programs and user interface programs, as well as the DBMS functionality. So that means in the previous different types of computers. We also know about that. So first generation of computers, second generation of computers, so third generation of computers. We also know about that. So in the case of these are the nothing but so yeah, a mainframe computer. So that means these type of systems occupies large size and using so a lot of power consumption also. Okay, so at the time of the situation here, the database functionality is also maintained at only particular one system. From that system only accessing by the different types of users. Okay, so there is nothing but centralized. The reason was that most users accessed such systems via computer terminals that did not have processing power and only provide display capabilities. So that means only here the problem is we are not able to access from everywhere. We are not maintaining the security. At the same time, we are not able to providing the terminals like that. So these are the reasons to maintain at the centralized. Okay. So now, therefore, all processing was performed remotely on the computer system, and only information and controls were sent from the computer to the display terminals, which were connected to the central computer via various types of communication networks. So that means here, so we are connected to the number of clients with the some particular server. Okay, so these type of clients can able to displaying the data only. So that means processing is done at only one system. So that is nothing but centralized architecture, centralized database architecture. As prices of hardware declined, most users replaced the terminals with the PCs and workstations. At first, database systems used some these computers similarly to how they had used display terminals, so that the DBMS itself was still centralized DBMS in which all the DBMS functionality, application program execution, and the user interface processing were carried out on the one machine. So that means here, so whenever client is asking some requesting some particular data, so that type of processing will be done at only one system. So these clients can able to display the data only. And another thing, it will be reducing the cost also. Okay. So the physical component in centralized architecture. Gradually, Dbms system started to exploit the available processing power at the user side, which led to the client server Dbms architecture. So that means, so whenever we need to maintain increasing our application, so whenever we need to maintain a lot of data, so whenever we need to giving the service to more than one user at a time, so at that time of the situation, we need to based upon the client server architecture. Okay, client server architecture. The client server architecture was the developer to deal with the computing environments in which large number of PCs, workstations, file servers, printers, database servers, web servers, email servers, and other software and equipment are connected by a network. For example, so in the exam point of view, for example, more than one person attempting the exam at a time. Am I right or not? So for example, maybe if it is an online exam, so at the time of the situation, more than one person accessing from different types of locations. Am I right or not? So that means all these are not connected to a only one terminal. So these are connected at a cloud. So that means here we are based on. So here, if you are observe here, so this is the diagram. So number of clients are there, and these clients connected to the DBMS server, file server, print server. So that means more number of servers are there, and more number of clients are there, and these clients can be connected from everywhere through some network. So this is also the example for two-tier architecture. So this is also the example for client server architecture at the same time two-tier architecture. If you observe here, communication network is there, client and some server and client. So in this type of here we are number of servers and clients are there. So these are connected to one to another according to the need. And here we are not maintaining the database functionality at only one time. So at the time of the situation, more number of users easily connected from everywhere. So that is the main advantage of client server architecture. The idea is to define the specialized service with specific functionalities. For example, it is possible to connect a number of PCs or small workstations as clients to file server that maintains the files of clients and machines. Another machine can be designated as a printer server by being connected to various printers. All print requests by the clients are forwarded to this. So that means here we are maintaining small systems also can be we can designate it like as a servers. Okay, and here we are considered some printing server also. So this concept can be carried out over to the other software packages with specialized programs such as CAD, computer aided design package being stored in the specific server machines and being made accessible to the multiple clients. So in this type of here we are maintaining the client server architectures. Okay, this is the last topic of this unit. So up to now we are discussing about, just to try to recollect what we discussed up to now. So that is, so first of all we are discussing about what is a database management system, and another thing, so what are the applications of database management system. So that means where we are using the database management system and what are the advantages of database management system, and we are consider the file processing system drawbacks and how those type of drawbacks are overcome by the DBMS. And another thing, so what are the levels of data abstraction and what are the types of data models and what is the database structure. Okay, and another thing is nothing but two-tier architecture, three-tier architecture, and client server architecture, centralized database architecture. Okay, and we are discussing about different types of commands also, like DDL, DML, DCL, TCL. Okay, so these type of comments are we already discussed in the last classes. Okay, so today we are completing the first unit completely. So I will give you the assignment questions in the next session. Okay. If you having any type of the doubts, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we can end the session today. If you're having any type of the doubts, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we can end the session today. Only 59 members are only attending the class. Then what about others? Yeah, yeah, definitely I will definitely I will post the PPT in our group. Don't worry about that. Okay, I will share you now. And you can ask me if you're having any doubt doubts. You can contact me personally also. I think all of the members having my number. Okay, so you are able to see my number in the group, so you can directly contact with me. Don't worry. If you have any other doubts, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can end the session today. Okay, in the next session, we try to discuss about the some other queries. Okay, in the last class, I'm saying about the DCL and TCL comments. The members able to understood. So in the next class, we will completely go through the comments. Okay, so why? Because actually we are here missing missing the practice of our lab. Okay, I hope all of the members, how many members having the possibility in your homes? So those type of members already installing the software Oracle XC. So better you try to practice those type of comments. So those are very helpful in the exam point of view, in the lab point of view. In the same way, so it will be giving more knowledge at the practical exams or maybe the competitive exams. Okay, my end the session now. My end the session now. In the last class, we are already discussing about DCL comments. DCL comments. Are you understood those comments? In the last class, we are discussing about and TCL comments. Are you understood that? Hello. Okay, in the next class, I will try to give the assignment for you from the first unit. Okay, at the same time, I will try to giving the remaining units assignments also. So that means first assignment, maybe giving the 5 questions from the 3 units, first 3 units. Okay, and you can post your comments, like maybe your doubts in the WhatsApp, or maybe we can directly contact me. No problem. Okay, now I end my session. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.